What is up, guys? This is the Gaming Archive 19 here, bringing you a review today of Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Now, if you're wondering why I haven't uploaded for quite a while, it's because I recently just got the Uncharted the Nathan Drake collection. I think it was last Saturday or maybe last Sunday, but I didn't get to play it until I think it was Monday. So because of that, I've been playing this constantly for the past 5 days, and I've just recently finished Drake's Fortune, and I also platinumed the game, which I'll show you a screenshot of now, so just for proof that I did in fact platinum the game. So now that I've done that, I think I'm in the right frame of mind now to give you a review of Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Now, it's a bit weird because I've always wanted to review Drake's Fortune because I feel like this is one of the most underrated games of the last generation, because whenever I hear people talk about Uncharted, they always never talk about Drake's Fortune, which I think is a bit of a shame, because honestly I do think Drake's Fortune is a bit of a hidden gem in terms of the fact that I think it does some things better than I think other Uncharted games, or the sequels or whatever you want to call them, did after it. But I'll talk about them in this review, so let's just get into it. First of all, I want to talk about the story. So the story, of course, is about Nathan Drake, who is a small-time thief slash treasure hunter, who basically is going back to the site where Sir Francis Drake, a British explorer, was reportedly supposed to have died off the coast of Panama. However, they dig up his body with the help of Elena Fisher, and they discover that Drake is actually not dead because his body is not there, and all that is left behind is a journal of his, which basically tells Drake that he was actually going for El Dorado. However, they are ambushed by pirates, and then they're eventually rescued by Victor Sullivan, who's basically Drake's mentor but also his close friend. With that, they decide to go and hunt for the treasure of El Dorado, which turns out to not actually be a city of gold, but it's actually a gold statue, which is reportedly worth millions. However, they soon come under fierce rivalry from Attack Navarro, Gabriel Roman, and Eddie Raja, who all want the treasure for themselves, as well as Drake, Elena, and Sully. Now, in terms of the story, this game definitely has the best self-contained one, because it has the least amount of plot holes, I feel, or at least the least amount of errors. Like, there aren't that many things that you could say, okay, that definitely isn't explained at all in this game, like, say, for example, Drake's deception, which I thought had quite a lot of plot holes, which were quite distracting. However, as a result of that, I feel that Uncharted Drake's Fortune also has the least amount of special moments in its story. Like, there's nothing really massive or mind-blowing that happens, like in 3 or 2, that are worth, saying that its story is better because of that said reason. So, even though, yes, I do think it has the best self-contained story, it also doesn't really have that many special moments. However, I did like the fact that it's a bit different to the next 2 games, in terms that, of course, it isn't a globe-trotting adventure. It takes place primarily on one island, or actually I don't know whether its location is, but that's pretty much it. You do spend the first chapter on the coast of Panama, and then chapter 2 and 3 on I think it's the Amazon jungle, but then from there on you're stuck on the island, and it's about basically trying to find the treasure while also trying to stay alive against a swarm of pirates. But that's it for the story, really. I mean, the story's still pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's the greatest part of the game, but it never is. So now we move on to gameplay. First of all, they got rid of the 6-axis controllers. Now, if you didn't realise what this is basically where if you tried to throw a grenade, you had to tilt your controller in that direction, which I think was really pointless, so I'm so happy they got rid of that. But the weird thing is apart from that, there's not really anything else different. Like, there's not really anything to talk about, in terms of a massive difference, which I think is a bit sad, really, because I was expecting a bit more difference in the gameplay. I mean, sure, the gameplay is good, but it's definitely the most dated game in the entire series. You can tell that by looking at this gameplay. I mean, the aiming reticule is not exactly the greatest. When Drake jumps, doesn't exactly look real or look normal, if you ask me. Yeah, so yeah, this definitely feels the most dated in terms of gameplay. However, it's not massively overdated. I still think there are games that are more modern than Drake's Fortune that I still think have much more dated gameplay than this. So it's nothing that I can really fault, but I just that from what they were hyping it up to be, you know, in terms of how they were going to master it in the previews, I did expect a bit more from the gameplay. Now, of course, to move on to presentation. Of course, as you all know, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, it's the oldest one in the series. Of course, it's going to look the worst out of all of them. But, to be honest with you, I actually like how Bluepoint have actually upgraded the visuals. Nathan Drake's face model, I think they've completely changed as well, because he definitely looks a lot different. His face does look a lot more detailed. However, the one issue I did have with it was that, for some reason, his eyes just looked really weird in the game sometimes. Like if they were on a cutscene and you would just, it shows it on his face, and his eye, I don't know whether it's just me, but his eyes just didn't look right. They just looked really weird. I don't know whether that's Bluepoint's fault or whether it's something that they'll patch in a bug, you know, in the future. But it just looked a bit weird. I mean, you go and discuss in the comment section whether you agree with me on that, but that's what I felt, at least when I was playing it. It just looked a little bit weird. But the presentation's pretty good. Of course, the game does have some problems. It does have a few popping textures here and there, but nowhere near as bad as the first game. However, the biggest difference I could tell was definitely the 60 frames per second. I mean, like, that was it makes so much of a difference, because the first Uncharted was running around, I think it was like 26 frames per second, and the screen tearing on the original PS3 version was so noticeable. It was pretty bad, like the screen tearing. It was pretty dreadful, and you know, not to say that it was terrible or it downgraded the experience, but it was just so noticeable when the screen tearing was happening on the original version. So I'm happy that the 60 frames per second completely gets rid of it, and it just feels so smooth and so much better to play. And it really just does help the gameplay overall. Now, in terms of replay value, there's not really much to say, really. I mean, in fact, there shouldn't even be a category for all of them, really, because, of course, the games don't have multiplayer anymore. Drake's Fortune, like I said, doesn't have any special moments in it that are probably worth replaying. I mean, you might want to go and replay the game on Brutal, because I haven't done that yet. I'm going to try and do that after I beat on Among Thieves and Drake's Deception on Crushing. I might go back and do it then, but it honestly just depends on how I feel and whether I want to go and give Crushing a try. I probably will do, and I'll probably absolutely fail at it, but you might as well, you know, just see how it is and see if I'm actually any decent at it. But anywho, that is it for the review today. Like I said, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, I find it a bit underrated, to be honest with you, because like so many people just overlook it because of the Uncharted 2 and Drake's Deception, you know, just kind of overshadowing it. But I still think this is a great game, and it's definitely still one of the best, one of my most favourite games of the 7th generation. So because of that, I'm going to give Uncharted Drake's Fortune an 8.5 out of 10. I mean, I still think it's a great game. Definitely not the best in the series, but it's but saying that, it's still an incredibly good game and definitely one you should still buy. But anywho, guys, that was it from me today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again.